Hello, our presentation today is going to be on the disease cholera. This presentation was made by Poppy Thatcher and Melinda McMullen. My name is Melinda, and I will be going over the etiology, the signs and symptoms, and the reservoir of cholera. So, etiology of cholera, it is caused by infection by the bacteria Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae is a gram-negative bacteria with a bacillus morphology. There are two serogroups of Vibrio cholerae, which are O1 and O139, which is also known as Bengal. The serogroup O1 contains two biotypes that are indistinguishable from each other, classical and L-Tor. The L-Tor biotype is more often a milder, asymptomatic infection. The serogroup O139 emerged in 1992 in epidemics in Bangladesh and India, which is why it is also known as Bengal. Vibrio cholerae is caused by drinking unsanitary water or inadequately sterilized water. It can also be caused by eating undercooked seafood, which we will go into more detail later. The signs and symptoms are mild or moderate diarrhea. Sometimes the diarrhea is indistinguishable from diarrhea caused by other issues, but it usually comes on very quickly and can sometimes cause dangerous fluid loss. The diarrhea will have a milky appearance that looks like water that rice has been rinsed with, also known as rice water stool. Nausea and vomiting also occurs, mostly in early stages of cholera. The vomiting will often persist for hours at a time. Sometimes dehydration will occur due to all of the loss of fluids caused by the diarrhea and or vomiting. This could also lead to an electrolyte imbalance, which may cause shock and muscle cramp. Cholera in children can sometimes lead to an altered state of consciousness, seizure, or coma. Reservoir of Vibrio cholerae. In the 19th century, cholera spread from its original reservoir in India. 6 pandemics killed millions of people all over the world. Then, the 7th pandemic began in South Asia in 1961. Africa in 1971, and the Americas in 1991. Cholera is now an endemic in most areas. It is transmitted from the reservoir of infection to a susceptible host through vehicle transmission. The usual reservoir of cholera is a non-living reservoir, water that has been contaminated by the feces of humans and other animals, and sometimes even shellfish. On this slide, this image shows the process of Vibrio cholerae. It will begin in an aquatic reservoir. Ingestion of environmental vibrios will start the outbreak and will move to a human host. The human will experience the symptoms, and it then can be spread by fecal-oral spread by the stool, which can cause other ways of spread such as household spread, fomites, and contaminated foods, which will then be ingested into a human host.
Hi, my name is Poppy Thatcher, and I will be discussing the transmission, treatment, prevention, and control of cholera. I will also give a brief history of the disease along with some interesting facts. Transmission of Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae is found in areas where there is insufficient water treatment and untreated sewage, as we've discussed previously. It is therefore transmitted to a person when they drink contaminated water or eat food that was prepared with contaminated water. Rare cases have been caused by ingesting raw or uncooked shellfish or meat. Cholera is not spread from person to person, so it is unlikely that you would contract the disease through casual contact with an infected person. Treatment. Cholera is easily treated by rehydrating the patient as soon as possible. It is important for an infected person to seek help immediately as death can come quickly without prompt treatment. Rehydration can be successfully accomplished by using an oral rehydration solution, or ORS, which is a prepackaged mixture of salts and sugars that are dissolved in water. This solution should be drunk in large quantities to effectively rehydrate the patient. A person is likely administered about 6 liters of the fluid on the first day. If a patient is severe, intravenous fluids are necessary in addition to the ORS. Antibiotics are not necessary in order to treat cholera, but can be effective in decreasing the severity and duration of the illness. The antibiotics that are most effective in treating cholera are doxycycline and azithromycin. Mass antibiotic use is not recommended as it contributes to antimicrobial resistance and is not found to control the spread of the disease. Early treatment is essential if cholera is contracted, as there is less than a 1% mortality rate when done so. Prevention and control. Access to safe drinking water and proper sanitation are at the heart of preventing the spread of cholera. Economic development is necessary for this to occur. Water treatment facilities, along with the construction of piped water systems, would go a long way in decreasing the spread of the disease. It is also necessary for areas to have systems in place to safely dispose of sewage. This can include the construction of latrines. At the household level, water filtration systems can be installed, and people should be educated on other ways to disinfect their water and to safely store it. Unfortunately, these interventions are not easily accessed in the developing countries that need them most. They would require a substantial long-term investment and continued maintenance. In the meantime, communities affected by cholera can be educated in proper hygiene practices to reduce their risk. This would include hand washing, proper preparation and storage of food and water, and proper disposal of feces. For those traveling to endemic areas, only bottled, boiled, or otherwise chemically treated water should be consumed or used to wash dishes, brush teeth, etc. Hands should be frequently washed with soap and clean water. When hand washing is not an option, hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol can be used. Raw or undercooked meat or seafood or unpeeled fruits and vegetables should not be consumed. There are 3 oral vaccines that have been pre-qualified by the World Health Organization and are available to prevent contracting cholera. They are Dukoral, Shankal, and Uvicol. All 3 of these require 2 doses to be fully effective and provide about 65% protection against cholera. Just a little editorial. It's very sad that the prevention methods that are most effective are not within reach for the areas that need them most. We don't always appreciate how good we have it here in the United States. I know that I sure take for granted the fact that I don't have to even think about where I can get a clean glass of water, or that I can just use the restroom and then flush the toilet without a second thought. So much to be grateful for. Just a little bit of history of cholera. Cholera has ancient origins. It can be traced back to Hippocrates' time and to Sanskrit writings that report deaths due to diarrhea. It was first recorded in 1563 by Garcia de Huerte, a Portuguese physician in Goa, India. 1817 was the start of a series of 6 separate pandemics that were brought about by the Industrial Revolution. The rapid modernization that occurred during the 19th century was responsible for bringing the disease from its home around the Ganges River in India to the rest of the world. Expansion of trade routes over the next century were responsible for the subsequent outbreaks and pandemics. Cholera was brought to nearly all parts of the world by shipping merchants along these routes. In 1854, a London physician by the name of John Snow conducted a study on an outbreak of cholera in Soho. He correctly attributed the cause to the water source in the area, debunking the popularly held belief that it was caused by bad air. Vibrio cholerae was discovered to be the culprit in causing cholera by German physician Robert Koch in 1883. He was sent to Egypt to help investigate an outbreak and was able to isolate the bacteria and establish that it was the causative agent. He was also responsible for instituting practices for controlling cholera epidemics that were the basis for practices that are still used today. There is a current pandemic that began in Southeast Asia in 1961. It spread to Africa by 1971 and reached the Americas in 1991. It is found in developing countries without proper sanitation or clean drinking water. It can also be brought about by natural disasters, such as in Haiti recently with the damage caused by Hurricane Matthew. Deadly facts. I'd like to end my presentation with a few random facts about this preventable, sadly too often deadly disease. Cholera can kill an otherwise healthy adult within hours if treatment is not received. Its short incubation period of 2 hours to 5 days increases the outbreak risks. 75% of infected persons show no signs or symptoms. There was a 79% increase in reported cases from 2005 to 2006. People with HIV or who are malnourished are at a greater risk of death from cholera. Contrary to a long-held belief, cholera is not transmitted by infected dead bodies. Cholera is a continued problem in most developing countries. The true impact is extremely underestimated as many cases go unreported. It is estimated that there are 1.3 to 4 million cases per year, as opposed to the 129,000 to 590,000 cases that were reported over the past 5 years. I so admire those that are working towards providing safe and clean drinking water to areas most affected by this disease. It's heartbreaking that in a world with so many technological advances, there are so many who suffer from these diseases that we know how to prevent. What a blessing it is to have the scientific knowledge to be able to eradicate these harmful bacteria. Hopefully, there will come a time when all those in endemic areas will receive the resources that they need to be safe from cholera. As they say in the cartoons, that's all, folks. Thanks for watching.